Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me yet again with the Toyota bZ4X, this time for our typical 70 mile per hour highway range tests. That's right, we're going to see how far this bZ4X goes on a single charge sitting at 70 miles an hour. I'm going to walk you through the testing procedures, everything I've done up to this point. I'll tell you a little bit about the car. Then we're of course going to hit the road, head out of here in Loveland, Colorado, up into Wyoming, into Nebraska, depending on how far it can go. And then we'll turn around and end here completely dead to where the car basically doesn't want to move anymore. It's going to be a really interesting test. I'll walk you through why. So let's get into it. This is the new Toyota bZ4X, and it has been out for a little while, and we've actually tested it in California months ago. We took it around, had a blast with it, took it off-roading, and actually really enjoyed the car overall. And that is until you have to charge it. The charging performance is this car's biggest problem. We all know that by now, and I have to say there will be a software update coming at some point, I believe, to the US spec cars. My guess is you will have to go into the dealership for the update, and the update will solve a few little things. Something we haven't seen though is a massive improvement in charging times from some of our friends in Europe. We still have a lot of improvements needed here for bZ4X. So let me walk you through what we're doing with it today, at least. This is on the original software. If the software update improves anything major, you know I will get it back and I will retest and we'll go for it. So this is the top spec bZ4X available in the US. It is the all-wheel drive limited. It has the CATL battery pack, mid 72 point something kilowatt hours, if I remember correctly. I don't know what's usable. I want to say there's got to be a pretty big buffer on there, and we'll actually talk quite a bit about buffers as we get to the end of this test, because wow, there's a massive buffer at the bottom that you can drive past 0% for a long ways, and I'll show you how I'll be monitoring all of that. One thing we always do with our range tests, of course, is set the tire pressures to manufacturer recommended, which I've done here, but then we also DC fast charge them up to 100% just to make sure the battery temperature's all good to go. And the battery temperature is good to go here. I've been monitoring all of the OBD logs. I will again show you that here in a moment. And we're at about 30 degrees Celsius, exactly where we want the battery pack. The problem is the charging performance. Now I have a whole video diving into how this car charges from 0 to 100%, and it can take over 5 hours to do that. Now I knew that going into this, that okay, I don't want to sit at a charger for 5 hours. So what I did was I actually full charged it at home. I let it sit for a day or whatever at 100% state of charge. I then ripped it over here to the charger to spike heat into the battery pack system, plugged in at 87% state of charge. 39 minutes ago, we are now at 93%. Only doing 3 kilowatts, and it's going to take a long time more to get up to 100%. But I promise you, just like every test, we are not going to leave until it kicks off charging, until it's completely full. These tests are not representative of the real world. Please keep that in mind. This is very much like a Nürburgring lap time. It's for a way for us to benchmark the cars in a test that we've designed. However, the 10% challenge is a much more user-friendly challenge. We already have a video on this, and this is the worst score we've ever tested at 42.2 miles in the 10% challenge. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. So it is getting slightly windy outside, but not to worry. It will be a completely different climate when it's about time to leave. And I've already checked the weather maps. We're looking perfect. We're going to run at night, of course. And the main reason is I have to start here in Loveland, Colorado. Typically, I start in Wellington, a few towns up on the other side of where we live in Fort Collins. There's a charge point station there. If you've seen any of our range tests, you're familiar with it. It's actually ripped out of the ground. All those CPE 250s are out, and they're putting in the new ChargePoint Express Plus. But at least in the meantime, we're unable to use that charging station, which means I have to come down here to Loveland, which means there's more traffic, which is why we're running at night. So anyway, it's about 6 p.m. right now, 6:22, and we're at 93% doing 3 kilowatts. We have a long ways to go before we can leave. Thankfully, there's no other cars here at this station. I wouldn't want to be hogging up a charger, but it's what we got to do to get these videos in for you guys. I think today's Memorial Day, actually, so I'm surprised it's this empty at this charging location. But yep, we are just going to chill here for the next couple hours, maybe take a nap. We got the live stream going, and I'll catch up with you as we get closer to 100% state of charge. Probably won't be bright outside. We are now almost 1 hour into our charging session. We are at 95% state of charge. We are getting 1 kilowatt, teetering between 1 and 2. We've added 5.4 kilowatt hours, and we probably have another couple hours to go. One of my questions, and same with the live stream, is I wonder if it charges faster on AC charging at this high state of charge. My guess would be no. I would think they would taper the AC charging to match, but I am going to test that, and I'll mention it in an upcoming podcast just to see what the heck happens when you do AC charge it all the way up top, and to see if it does taper like this. I would think it does. But part of our testing procedures is always starting at a fast charger. We're not blocking anyone, so we're going to go till it's full. We are, of course, still charging. 96 minutes in. The Ioniq 5 pulled up and is almost fully charged from dead. And we are still sitting here for a long time. 30 degrees Celsius on battery temp. Everything's looking healthy. This is exactly what we want. The car hasn't been AC or DC charged in the last 24 hours. So we haven't used the DC counter, which, yes, this car does limit you from DC charging a certain amount in a 24-hour period, and that does get updated in the newer update to a higher number of kilowatt hours in that time period, but still just crazy that that's a thing. It's just like the charging part's the worst part of the car. So let's see what it does for range. That's what this is all about. I've already done charging videos on this car. Nothing has changed for the US market since the last video. The Euro market, some, I believe, Asian market vehicles get the update. In the US, we have no timeline yet. Yep, let's just keep chugging along. We have finally done it, 99%. The car still thinks 240 minutes left to 100%. This Polestar pulled up and started charging, but they're only getting 40 or 50 kilowatts. The Volvo C40 over there started charging. She actually couldn't get her car charging, so I had to get it started for her. Just interesting stories to see EV, non-everyday EV drivers. It's her husband's car. She pulled up, plugged it in, tapped her credit card, didn't work. And didn't know about the EA app or anything like that, so I actually couldn't initiate it with my EA app because I was charging this car, so I had to use my card. But that's just more of a request to EA to say, hey, can we charge more than one car at once? It could be really helpful even just in situations like that. Battery pack temperatures looking great. You can see here 1 degree C difference. If we come over here, you can see the battery pack cell balancing nearly perfect as well. So the car's looking great. We're almost full charged, right up to about 4.2 volts per cell. Getting very close there, 4.1173 minimum. So all good. We should be at 100% very soon. Charging complete. I was actually just about to unplug and move the car because we have a full station here and a Mach-E just pulled up over there. But it just completed at 100%. That was crazy timing. No way. So it shows 99%, but the car said charging complete. So it had charged to the maximum it wanted to. Let's 8 kilowatt hours in over 2 hours. Only cost me $3. Insane. Let's unplug, get this Mach-E charging, and get on the road for the range test. I did not expect the car to finish that soon. What? That was insane. I know, I kind of want to plug it back in and see what it does. Let's just back up here to free up the space for this guy. And yeah, let's just go right here. Everything is still off. I got to reset the trip and everything like that, and then we can go. We are now completely charged up. Of course, I backed up to let that Mach-E into the spot, but now we have to reset our trip computer and everything. Climate is off, so we're not burning any energy right now. So what we need to do is go here to Vehicle Trip Information, Clear Data. We also need to go to History and Clear Data. So everything should be cleared. Trip average on this one, we need to go to trip, drive info, press and hold, reset. Is that how we do it? Not resetting. Don't know why. Maybe because it's tied to this one. Okay, don't know, but at least we got here, yeah, trip clear. Okay, well, either way, history, that'll tell us our miles per kilowatt hour. We're at 554 miles on the odometer, 0.0, so that should be fairly accurate. And the speedometer's pretty much dead on in this car, maybe a half a mile an hour off or so. In terms of climate control, like we always do, we are gonna go seatbelt on, we're gonna go auto on eco at 68. We're gonna turn off the cooled seats. Eco, why does Eco put on the cooled seats? Well, that's not how we're gonna do it. We're gonna go auto, and I'm just gonna lock it to a low fan. We're gonna go sync on the temperature, and I think we're good. Okay, are we ready to go? Let's go. Into drive. Everything's set, lights to auto. Eco mode, whoops, gotta put on eco mode. And I cannot use regen boost, which is this button here, until we're at lower state of charge, but we don't really need it anyway. So let's go, we're heading out. Got this Mach-E here, and they are charging, they're low, they're at like 4%, that was good. Off we go then, the bZ4X range test, holy smokes. I just can't believe that timing. Literally, just as I was an inch away from stopping the charge, it went, oh, charge complete, and the car showed charge complete. That was just epic timing. You can't even make that stuff up. That was insane. Let's cruise along now in the bZ4X, jump on the highway and see how far this thing can go on a single charge. We are now merging onto the highway, heading to Fort Collins. We're gonna lock in our speed at 70 mile per hour GPS. The road is looking empty, so it shouldn't be a problem to maintain 70 as we head up into Wyoming, go past, of course, Wellington, where we typically start these range tests. And yeah, can't wait for that new charger to be installed in Wellington, that upgrade to happen, so we can do everything out of there. But let's merge up gently on the highway like usual. Hit 70 miles an hour by the end of it. The road is looking dead empty back there and up here. So let's do that. Lock it in. We'll use the Toyota lane centering throughout the drive as well. bZ4X is a fairly quiet car and it rides fairly nice. You know, driving it really isn't the worst part about it. It was just the whole charging thing. So I'm gonna go adaptive cruise mode, lock in lane centering at 70 miles an hour. You can see we're at 69 right now. Just a little push up to 70. Come on, you can do it, car. There we go, locked in at 70. And let's rock and roll as we continue down the road. Cruising along here, along the beautiful front range as we have the sunset about to happen. 71 miles per hour, indicated is 70 GPS. And the car, for the most part, will just kind of teeter between 70 and 71, which is fine because it's actually like 70.5 indicated is 70 GPS. So pretty much locked on the speedo where we need to be. Beautiful day for a drive, no wind at the moment. 73 degrees, honestly, perfect conditions to get the biggest score possible out of this car. What a brutal charging session that was. We are now about to drive by where we typically start our range tests, and hopefully we'll get a little sneak peek to see if the new chargers have been installed at the Come and Go just up here. A couple notes on this car. I won't be able to tell you a 75, 50, or 25% check-in because the car doesn't give us state of charge check-ins. Now on the next software version, which again, we don't know when the US cars are gonna get, right about here is where it's gonna show you the user displayed state of charge. That's not gonna be the state of charge here on the pack, that 83% number. Let's take a look over here at the chargers. Can we see anything? I see a truck, a boom truck, but that's about all I can see. Not sure if the chargers are in. And we can't really go off this number because it's not 100% accurate. So I won't be able to give you full check-ins along the way. And also this 203 mile number, I'm not sure what that's based off of. It might be a little bit of guessometer. It might be a rated range calculation with some variability based on driving history, because sometimes it full charges to 234 miles, 233 miles, occasionally I've seen. And the car is only EPA rated for 222. in this particular trim. And then also occasionally when we're running low and it's like, hey, you're about to run out, it uses a different guesstimate number for how much range I have that pops up on the screen versus that number. And this is way more accurate to my driving than whatever that is. So I'm not sure what that number even means or what it's based off of. But I will say the car's broken in. We have just 570 miles on it. Tires are broken in. No degradation on the car. It's brand new. And again, perfect conditions, 68 degrees, beautiful conditions, no wind. If the bZ4X is ever going to get a good score, again, this is the least efficient bZ4X, being the Limited with the all-wheel drive, the CATL battery pack. Yep, well, let's just see what it does, and I'll give you my final thoughts here at the end of the video. Well, we are cruising through Wyoming at the moment, and the sky is looking a little bit grayer, a little bit more lightning up ahead. I'm thinking we flip around here. We're at about 58% state of charge on the main battery, probably about 60% user displayed. But I'm thinking we'll make a U-turn here, blast back onto the highway the other way. That way we just don't risk hitting any kind of weather, because up to this point, it's been no wind, no rain, absolutely perfect. But let's just kick it off cruise control, pop off this exit here. I'm gonna hit the regen boost. There we go, full regen boost off the highway. And let's make a U-turn, head back the other way, and keep moving. We're about 76 miles in, so definitely turning around earlier than typical, but that's okay. We'll just keep looping around as closer back to the start point. We are now headed back in the other direction, and just a beautiful sky. Absolutely gorgeous time to do a range test. Efficiency 2.7, probably will increase as we dip back into Colorado as well, lose some elevation. That's why we run a loop style test. Again, I told you the car will bounce between 70 and 71. That's actually kind of what we want to kind of keep it perfect, but it is set at 71 miles an hour. And all is good here. Car's quiet, rides nice, good beam from the headlights actually. Do a quick high beam test, pretty nice. Don't want to blind that guy too long, so there we go. But yeah, I mean, the driving of this car is good. The driver assistance is truly phenomenal. No ping-ponging, just locked in its lane. Occasionally the odd exit comes up and it tries to take it. You know, it's nowhere near as good as some of the best systems on the market, but I would like to run this and do a hogback test. Perhaps we'll have some time to do that before I give it back to Toyota. But you know, I see why someone would buy this car, because on the test drive, if you're not doing charge testing or efficiency testing or 10% challenges, the car gives a fairly good first impression. You know, as long as you're okay with the interior. The software I think's terrible. Like, this screen sucks. There's no way around it. It can't find charging stations. It's not adapted for the car. It's convoluted. If you just like don't touch any of this and you just drive the car, yeah, it's a nice driving car. It probably drives better than your last RAV4 did. So, you know, I see why people would buy it. And honestly, for most use cases, this car is going to work great. Charge at home, have plenty of driving range, and you're good to go. My thing with it is, for $50,000 as tested, why wouldn't you buy a car that could do everything? An ID4, Mach-E, Model Y, Ioniq 5, they could all road trip much better than this vehicle can, with far less limitations and truly better software in all of those than this car. To me, that just is a no-brainer. Well, we are well on our way back, and it's looking like here on the percentage bar that we're at just about 50%. It says 100 miles remaining on that weird guessometer calculation. I can't quite figure out what that number means. But yeah, I'm guessing we're probably about halfway through, 100 miles in, 100 miles to go. That's basically what the car's predicting right now. 100 done, 100 left to go. So 200 miles if we keep this same driving up. I think that's similar to what we're kind of expecting. So I'd say we're roughly halfway through the test at the moment. I just got a notification here on this screen that our charge level's at 28%. So I guess that's what we're at, 28%. Heading closer back into where we started. Efficiency, I told you, was going to creep up as we came back in, and that's what it's looking like. So we got another, I don't know, 65 miles it's claiming here, probably a little bit less, to cruise around at 70 miles an hour. We'll see what happens, but yeah, all good. No complaints at all right now. We are just looping back onto the highway now. You can see traction battery low just kicked on at 9% state of charge is when that happens. Although the actual battery's at 15% if you look in that top left-hand corner right there. What we're gonna do is keep going until this says 0. The one thing I don't want to do is run out here on these roads. We just need to get back up to 70 if cars would move a little bit quicker. Because there's no breakdown lane and it's all construction on either end. So we'll go a little bit farther, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of run it all the way out on a B road near the charger where we can maintain still pretty good speed. Well, the 5% warning popped up here on the screen and then goes away. There's no way really for me to show you that. There's no percentage indicator again, but we are currently at 5%, making our last turnaround to head back to the exit where we started. We should get there probably, you know, close to 0% state of charge, something like that. And then what we'll do from there is just run it until the main battery pack goes down to 0. And the reason I'm kind of concerned about running out on the highway is I'm not sure if there's a buffer on this, like if it will shut off at 3% or 4% instead of 0. I'm keeping my eye on the power meter, which is that little tick right there above the 40 mile an hour. As that backs down, we lose our available power output. So, yep, just don't want to run out on the highway. Make sure there's a shoulder if we do. I just haven't run this car to 0 yet, and definitely don't want to risk causing a traffic incident on a main highway. So we'll run it down on B roads, but hopefully we'll make it to the charger, of course, when this hits close to 0% or when it feels like the car is going to stop moving. Back up to 71. Good stuff. We are now just getting very close to the ending of our test, and we're about to pull off the highway just up here. We are at, if we take a look, 10.2% state of charge on the main big battery. And let's take a look. This is our exit. Make sure it's still open, which it is. No one is to our right, but we have to exit. Solid line. Sorry about that, everyone. And we will pull off at roughly 190 miles right there at a constant 70 miles an hour. And we are still going to maintain very high speed on this back road, probably 70, still continue. Cars projecting 7 miles of range left. Again, just unpredictable buffers and massive construction zones mean we are being a little bit cautious here, pulling off early. Well, we've just merged onto a road with a 65 speed limit, so we'll be able to maintain 70, but there are some traffic lights. It says traction battery empty, output power reduced, charge vehicle now. And there's our power limit. And that is at 10.59% state of charge on the main battery pack. Again, still not giving me a user displayed state of charge. My guess is 1-2%, something like that. We have just a little sliver right there at the end, but still great power and performance. I'm just walking it up to, you know, where we need to be, and we'll just keep going. And if we run out, we got plenty of room to leave this thing somewhere until a tow truck or the Rivian can come and save us. Traction battery empty, charge vehicle now. Funny. Well, this road is working out perfectly. We're still able to maintain 70 miles an hour. Again, I think this thing has all of 200 miles in it at 70, considering we still have, you know, 9% state of charge left here. But let's see what happens. Just cruising along, enjoying the drive. Live stream has been great. And now it all comes down to the wire. How far should we go this way before we turn around? I don't know, but we're gonna keep going for now at least. There is 1 mile of range remaining. I'd say we're probably 7 miles away from the charger, something like that. Again, 8.2%, so there seems to be about an 8% buffer at 0. So there's no percentage left on the battery there. We're still maintaining highway speed at 194.4 miles. And I think we'll make a U-turn up at that light, blast back to the charger, and then I'll give you a charging range. There's our dash to empty. And again, 8.24% left on the battery pack. So definitely looking like an 8% buffer. Not sure if all of that's usable yet, but we will find out here soon enough. Using the regen boost to pull us down here to the end. Still got plenty of power, no turtle mode present or anything like that. Some cars don't have turtle mode. I don't know if this does, but yep, let's bust a U-turn and head back the other way. We have been on the road for 3 hours and 3 minutes, still cruising now back to the charger at 70. All is going well. The car says dash to empty. We have climate control running as we did, same testing procedures as always, and all is looking good here in the bZ4X. We are coming up to a few more intersections where I think it's going to be hard to maintain 70, and we are coming into a work zone, so I have to slow down here a little bit. But 198.4 miles there, coming off of highway speeds. I'd say it had every bit of 200 in it at 70. What we're going to do now is, of course, run it down to 0 at typical speeds like we do here, B road speeds, to get our final tally. It should definitely be over 200 miles, assuming it doesn't brick itself. It's still showing 6% state of charge on the main battery pack, and still plenty of available power left. But yep, let's just keep moving along. Still quick, but not at 70. I would say 199 miles there at 70, just coming in for a stop. So let's run it all the way out now. Cruising along now. We've just passed 200 miles driven. Again, not doing 70, but still pretty high speeds along this road. About 5.5% state of charge left on the battery pack. I'm going to keep going up a couple more stoplights, see what happens. And we are back to where we started. The DC fast charger that we started at is literally right in here. I'm actually pulling off some of the main roads and going to be just driving around the back roads there. We are still, of course, at dash to empty, 204.2 miles in, 4% now left on the buffer. I started to notice some of the maximum power was being held back. We're still able to maintain, 65, 70 miles an hour. I was doing about 55, 60 on that road, but that's about it for the quick driving. Now we're just going to shuttle it down to 0, see how much of this buffer we can use on truly empty roads. We have reached pi. We are at 3.14% state of charge. Still cruising along. Again, power limits definitely cutting back. That's floored. Not much performance. Don't want to keep it pinned for too long. But we're definitely nearing the end of this this test here for sure. So 3.14%. The car's still moving. I'm just going to kind of keep it in this little loop between the charger and this road. So hopefully if it does feel like it's about to die, we can coast it in and we don't need to call a tow truck. That's always the goal. Get it there as low as possible, but definitely get it there. We've definitely almost run out at this charger and others many times, and many times we have made it. So let's hope luck is on our side yet again. That is pretty much full throttle, but still some performance in there. So yeah, let's do another loop. May as well. Let's go for it. Okay, well, full throttle pretty much maintains a slight bit of acceleration, but we're definitely towards the bottom. We're at 1.96% state of charge on the battery. And yeah, just keep it going. Maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more loops and then pull it in. I definitely think we're not going to hit any milestone numbers here. We hit that number right there. So nothing really big left to do, but I am curious to see what keeps happening if we keep going. And right now it just looks like power limits cutting in. That's, again, full throttle and not much performance there. So let's hit the brakes, not crash, and yep, get it over to the charger here in a moment. All right, well, the thing keeps wanting to go, so we're going to do a lap around the parking lot, but that's where we're eventually going to end up. You can see full throttle right there. Not much performance, but it's still moving. No turtle on the display, just that message. And yeah, let's just do a loop. I'll actually show you guys. There's some old Blink chargers over here. Last time I was here, they were here. Let's go check them out. They're old decrepit CATL units. I believe they're just over here to the right, if I remember correctly. So let's go take a look, see if we can find them. And then this way, maybe? Yeah, it was like giant dual port CATL. Yeah, there they are. Let's go see if they're even installed. I can see the transformer. Stop sign, brakes, turn, go. Here it is. Yeah, it's still there. And it hasn't worked for my Leaf yet. I've tried it maybe twice, and I always have to put it on the EA charger. But here it is, the old, by the way, the rear windows in this car don't work for some reason. There it is. The old school Blink unit. And no, the child lock button makes no difference to the rear windows. Just doesn't work. Weird bugs in the bZ4X. And this is one massive buffer here. I believe the software update unlocks more buffer below 0. So let's keep going. And here we are creeping up to the chargers now, very much at the end of the battery. Take a look at this, full throttle, barely wants to accelerate. That is pinned. I'd say we got everything we could out of it. Not sure what's going on here. Someone getting in their car, I guess. But let's pop over to the charger we used to start this thing and call it a range test. There you have it, 212.1 miles. We're at 1.1% on the main battery. I think that's pretty reasonable, especially considering how far past zero we went. And there we go. Let's get it plugged in, see what kind of speeds we get actually. That'll be interesting. And here we are plugged in at the end of the test now. bZ4X completely dead. Love to see it. Proper test. I'll give you my thoughts on the range here in a moment, the value of the car, everything. But we're just connecting to the vehicle. Pretty much every time I've charged the bZ4X, I've had a weird connection issue and I always have to unplug and re-plug in. I think it's actually tied to the car being left on. So this time I actually shut the car off to initiate the charging session, which is something I've never had to do in really any other electric car. But let's hope it connects. Still waiting on connecting to vehicle. Maybe we do have to do a redo. Very odd situation, but let's get it juicing. There we go, initiating charging. That's what we like to see, contactors clicking. And let's take a look at the peak charging speed. I'll zoom in for the live stream, guys, so you guys can see what's going on here on the bZ4X charging front. Hold on, let's get you locked in. There we go. Got to hit go on this particular unit. Looks like it just kicked on charging. There we are, 0% state of charge. Just seems to always communicate 200 something minutes. 30 kilowatts there, 40 kilowatts. Come on, baby. 72, it's the fastest I've seen almost. 77. The car's rated for 100. Can we hit 100? 80 kilowatts. Now in our 10% challenge, the most I saw was 65. Here at 0%, 80. I still don't think I've ever seen one of these hit 100 kilowatts. I'll have to go back and take a look at my old charging test, but 81 kilowatts being delivered to the bZ4X. Let's take a look at our battery data here so we can see what's going on this. So let's log in. Okay. We are at 80 kilowatts going into the battery pack. Battery pack temperatures have pretty much remained constant throughout the whole test. Let's see what else we got. 250 amps or so going into the battery. Let's take a look at our balance right there. Yeah, definitely a little bit unbalanced down there at the bottom, but certainly was good up top. And let's see what else we have here. If you guys don't have this app, it's called Car Scanner ELM OBD2. You can see your temperature sensors throughout the whole battery pack. Vehicle exit assist deactivated. Okay, here's our temperatures on everything. All very good where you want it to be. And DC to DC, all this good stuff. There's our high voltage battery power. And here we are, 84 kilowatts now, 85 kilowatts going into the car. Whoa, new record. So great. Well, let me give you my final thoughts on the test. Well, there you have it. 213 miles, was it roughly? Something like that. I'll put up the final stats here. 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Well, look, none of that's really that stellar, is it? Considering it has a 72.8 kilowatt hour gross battery pack capacity. I'm not exactly sure what we were able to pull out of it. Definitely not that much, but as much as we could. 200 miles easily from, leave your house fully charged, jump on the highway, drive 70, 200 miles, assuming no major elevation or wind. That's a pretty reasonable number and expectation. The problem with the bZ4X comes when you have to recharge it. If we look at a comparable range Ioniq 5, that did 220, 225 miles in this test, that can recharge all of that range in under an hour, or it can recharge up to 50% in about 10 minutes. Whereas this will take hours to full charge and probably an hour or more to 80%. We'll have to go back and review my charging logs. So in terms of these, and again, you only get 2 DC fast charges on this in a day. So in terms of its usability, the bZ4X is still quite limited considering it's priced to compare with those other models. Again, mid $40,000 range for the non-limited model, $50,000 range for this one. This is just over 50 grand spec'd as is. It's a lot of coin, especially with no tax credit. So then the question comes, how's the front wheel drive? Well, the front wheel drive has a totally different battery pack than this. Totally, by the way, this car, everyone's going to ask in the comments, did it have the software update? Did it have the software update? We're not sure if the US will get a software update or when. Europe is getting it. Totally different battery pack than this car. Totally different market. I am going to reach out to Toyota and get clarification, and keep an eye on the Out of Spec podcast for more info on that front. But yeah, we're actually still at 0%. We've already dumped in 5 kilowatt hours. So we were dead for sure on this thing. Look, just 1%. We just hit 87 kilowatts now, 5.7 kilowatt hours delivered. Fastest charging I've seen this whole time on this car. So there you go, 200 miles. Look, it's a great car, drives great, driver assistance is good. It seems to be built well. I just can't recommend it because it's not a well-baked package. The software is terrible. The EV stuff is really bad. And it doesn't have the 3 things every EV needs to have, especially for like route planning, plug and charge, and preconditioning. Doesn't have any of that. When this car is like a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 used car, well, then the cheapness comes in and we can deal with some of these issues, right? So, and probably the batteries will have very little degradation. Most EVs all have little degradation except for Leaf because of non-liquid thermal management. But I think this might be a great used car buy if they really tank in value. But as far as a new car goes, I cannot recommend it. But the test was fun. The car was relaxing. The seats are great. It was a really good car to do the miles in. And I hope this video was helpful to you in learning how far one of these goes on a charge in a comparable test that we've run every car. So thanks for watching. Looking forward to your comments. See you on another one soon. Bye-bye.